Welcome everybody once again. So this is our seventh class for module 4, that is for kANI'S method. And in the last classes, in the past 6 classes, we saw how to analyze a continuous beam using kANI'S method and how to analyze a portal frame with no side sway using kANI'S method. That is how to analyze a symmetric portal frame using kANI'S method. Now, from today onwards, we are going to see how to analyze a portal frame with the side sway using kANI'S method. So today we are going to see the important conditions. What are the conditions or what are the important formula or things you have to remember while analyzing a frame with a side sway in kANI'S method? So as we have discussed earlier in our second module in slope deflection method, the frames with the side sway, the reasons for side sway for a portal frame is the side sway may be due to eccentric or unsymmetrical loading of the portal frame. So we know, so this can be the portal frame. So in the portal frame, if there are eccentric or unsymmetrical loading, if the loading is not symmetric, okay, or if your loading is like this, there will be occurrence of side sway. Then second, unsymmetrical outline of the portal frame. If the portal frame is not symmetric, okay, if the portal frame is not symmetric, then also you will have side sway. Then different end conditions. See here you can see one end is hinged and the other end is fixed. So different end conditions of the columns of the portal frame will lead to side sway. Then non-uniform section of the members of the frame. Sometimes it will be subjected to the modulus of inertia. Moment of inertia is I. You may have 2I. Even if it is a symmetric frame, if the moment of inertia, if the property is different, then there will be an occurrence of side sway. Then horizontal loading on the columns of the frames. When there are horizontal loadings, you will have side sway. Settlement of the supports of the frame. So if the support settles, then you will have side sway, and a combination of the above. Any of these combination will result in side sway. So how will the side sway occur? So if this is the column, so your frame will sway like this. So this beam, that is A, B, C, D, this beam BC will be shifted to B dash C dash, but here you will have the deflection. This AB will be deflecting and CD also will be deflecting. So see this BC, there is no change, it is just getting shifted, but these columns change their dimensions. So AB gets extended, okay, the dimension changes, and as a result there will be a cause for sway. It can sway in the other manner also, not only in this direction, it may sway, sometimes it may sway like this. So these all depends upon our conditions for side sway. So such frames undergo both joint rotation as well as joint displacement. So we will have joints. See, for this frame we have joints B and C. So at the joints B and C we will have both joint rotation as well as joint displacement. See, just to recall what we have studied earlier, we saw what is rotational contributions, right? So in the previous problems for continuous beams and for analyzing the portal frames with no side sway, we found the distribution factor, then the rotational factor. Okay, we found the displacement factor, that is k by sigma k. Then we found the rotation factor, that is minus 0.5 k by sigma k. So that is, this rotation factor is responsible for joint rotation. That is, we call it as rotational contributions. Rotational contribution. Now, in addition to rotational contribution, you will have joint displacement, that is displacement contribution. So when coming to displacement contribution, we need to find what is displacement factor. So we had distribution factor, rotational factor. Now we have one more factor for frames with side sway called displacement factor, and the contribution is called displacement contribution. The corresponding contribution is called the displacement contribution. So some new terms coming here are displacement factor and displacement contributions. Now we know the slope deflection equation for the member AB, right? So when you are considering some member AB, any member AB, the slope deflection equation is MAB will be equal to MFAB, that is fixed end moment at A when the far end is B. MFAB, this depends upon the external loadings. So MFAB plus 2EI by L. L means LAB, right? 2EI by LAB into 2 theta A plus theta B minus 3 delta by L. So here also this L is nothing but LAB. Delta is nothing but delta AB. Here theta A is nothing but theta AB. Theta B is nothing but theta BA. Okay. So how did we introduce the new terms here in the previous classes? So the final moment MAB will be equal to MFAB plus this 2EI by L. So this can be written as 4EI by L AB into theta AB plus 2EI by L BA into, AB into theta BA minus 6EI by LAB into delta AB by LAB. Okay, now we have studied in the previous classes that this term is replaced by 2 times MAB. That is 2EI by LAB into theta AB is written as 2MAB. And this is called rotational contribution. Right? Now, this is written as MBA. This is also called rotational contribution. This is rotational contribution of joint A. This is rotational contribution of joint B. Now, this is replaced as this is 6EILAB into delta AB by LAB. That is 6EI del AB by LAB square is replaced as M dash of AB, and M dash of AB is called displacement contribution. So this is fixed end moment. These both terms are the rotational contributions. That is why it is the symbol theta, right? Theta AB and theta BA. Rotational contribution at A and rotational contribution at B. So these both are rotational contributions, and this is displacement contribution. This is called a displacement contribution. So how can we write this? So we can write this as MAB is equal to MFAB plus 2MAB plus MBA minus M dash AB. So that means in generally in the mathematical form you can write this as Mij is equal to Mfij plus 2Mij plus Mji minus M dash of Ij. So our aim is to find this in order to analyze, in order to obtain the end moments. Okay, this will be the final end moment. So our aim is to find the fixed end moment, to find the rotational contributions Mij and Mji, and to determine the displacement contribution M dash Ij. So in order to find the fixed end moment, we know this depends upon the external loadings. This rotational contributions depends upon the rotational factors, and this displacement contribution depends upon the displacement factor. Okay, so these two are the rotational contributions. This M dash Ij is displacement contribution. And this M of Ij is fixed end moment. So now this is the kANI'S equation, right? This is kANI'S equation. Now this kANI'S equation is nothing but the extension of slope deflection equation. The moment distribution equation was also an extension of slope deflection equation. Now kANI'S equation is also an extension of slope deflection equation. Okay, so once you know this is the concept. Now our aim is to find rotational contribution and displacement contribution. So how will we find that? We have three different cases. So case 1, first case is frame with columns of equal height and subjected to vertical loads only. Okay. So frames with columns of equal height. So you will have frames with a column of equal height and subjected to only vertical loadings. It can be vertical concentrated loads or UDL, but only vertical loadings. So if this is the case, okay, so condition is two conditions. First condition is equal height. Second condition is it is subjected to vertical loads only. And not giving you the derivation, I am going to give you only the important details. So if this is the case, the things you have to remember is, see, you already know how to determine the rotational contribution. Finding the rotational contribution is as usual as we did in the previous problems. Okay. The only thing added here is the displacement contribution M dash of Ij. So here M dash of Ij will be equal to, for this case, M dash of Ij is equal to Dij. Dij is called displacement factor. So Dij into sigma r of Mij plus Mji. See, so Dij is the distribution factor. Now R is the story. See, sigma r means I have shown you only one story. Sometimes we may have more than one story. Okay. So when you are considering this story, the only one story, sigma r means this and this. Okay. You have to consider the columns in the story considered. So sigma r of Mij plus Mji means sigma r, if it is the first story, if r is equal to 1, if you have A, B, C, D, it is given as a sigma r mij plus mji. This is nothing but dij into summation of this, right? Summation of mij plus ji. So for the first column for AB, it is MAB plus MBA. Now for the second column, it is MCD plus MDC. This is the meaning of that. Okay. So A, B, C, D, E, F. If R is for the second story, then it will be MBE plus MBEB plus MFG plus MGF. That is the meaning of that. Okay. I hope you understood this. So the formula is M dash of ij is equal to Dij, the distribution factor, into summation of Mij plus Mji. See, we know how to calculate Mij. This is rotational contribution, right? Rotational contribution will be equal to Rij, rotational factor into summation of Mij. That is a summation of all the members meeting at that particular joint. This is how we have calculated in the previous steps. So rotational contribution, the calculation is different for all the three different cases. So remember M dash of ij, rotational contribution, will be equal to distribution factor multiplied by the summation of Mij plus Mji, where R is the story level and Mij is the, Mij means AB for this story. So what are the columns? You have to consider all the columns in that particular story. Now, what is Dij? How to calculate the displacement factor? Dij will be equal to minus 1.5 into Kj divided by sigma r Kij. Okay. See, displacement factor. So if you are taking this frame ABCD, you will have displacement factor for the column AB and for the columns ZD. You will have, see, we have studied earlier for determining the rotational factor. Rotational factor is determined for joints. Okay, rotational factor was determined for joints. You will consider joint B, joint C. Then we will consider what are the members. We will see whether the far end is fixed or hinged. Then we will take the relative stiffness. We will determine the distribution factor. Then from that we will find the rotational factor. So rotational factor was determined for joints, whereas the displacement factor is determined for columns. Okay. So here, if you are considering this frame ABCD, you will have the displacement factor for BA and displacement factor for CD. So displacement factor for BA will be equal to displacement factor for AB, and displacement factor for CD will be equal to displacement factor for DC. So displacement factor is for columns. So dBA equal to dAB is equal to minus 1.5 into Kj. What is Kj? Kj means the relative stiffness of this column AB. Relative stiffness of column AB divided by relative stiffness of column AB plus relative stiffness of column CD. That is Kij. Okay. Sigma r means the summation of all the columns in the story considered. So Dij, so dBA equal to dAB will be equal to minus 1.5 into KAB divided by KAB plus KCD. Similarly, displacement factor for CD and DC will be equal to minus 1.5 into stiffness factor of CD divided by KAB plus KCD. Okay. So that is all for case 1. Now we will move on to case 2. So for case 1, you have to remember these things. Okay. Only if you remember these formula, you will be able to proceed your kANI'S iteration table for portal frames with side sweep. So in addition to the previous steps what we have studied in the last classes, we have additional these displacement contributions also. So this is called displacement contribution. This is displacement contribution and this is displacement factor. Let me write that also. So M dash of Ij is called displacement contributions. And Dij is called displacement factor. Okay, now we will move on to our second case. So case 2 is frames with the columns of equal height and subjected to horizontal loads. So we will have frames of equal height and subjected to horizontal loads. So for this case, our displacement contribution. So displacement contribution is represented by M dash of Ij will be equal to Dij into Mr, that is restrained moment at R. Restrained moment at R, that is restrained moment at the particular column, plus sigma R into Mij plus Mji. So the explanation is similar, same. And our displacement factor, Dij will be equal to minus 1.5 Kij by sigma R M into Kij. So what is sigma R into M? See, M is a constant depending upon the far ends. So this M, the value for M is equal to 3 by 4 for hinged column and M is equal to 1 for fixed column. If the column is fixed, this is similar to the previous case. If the column is hinged, you have to give M is equal to 3 by 4. So that is all for the second case. We will move on to the third case. So third case is frames with columns of unequal height. So how will you analyze the frames with unequal height? So for frames with unequal height, the distribution contribution M dash of Ij will be equal to Dij, that is distribution factor, multiplied by Mr, restrained moments, plus sigma R Cij into Mij plus Mji. So you know what is Dij, Mr, Mij, Mji. So Cij is an additional term here. So this Cij is called reduction factor. Cij is called reduction factor and this depends upon the story. So this reduction factor Cij will be equal to HR dash by Hij. That means, see, any one of the column you have to consider as the reference. So this HR dash is the reference column. And Hij is the height of column considered. Okay, this is height of reference column, HR dash. Suppose this is A, B, C, D. Then C, this is L1 and L2. So CAB will be equal to, if AB is the reference column, it is L1 by L1. And CD will be equal to L1 by L2. See, this reference column do not change. Reference column remains the same. And the denominator, that is the column considered, the length of the column considered, changes. So that is the reduction factor Cij. Now, so for this case, what is Dij? Let us see what is Dij. So the displacement factor Dij will be equal to minus 1.5 into Cij into Kij divided by sigma r m into Cij square Kij. And see, you have to remember this, you have to study this, okay? Minus 1.5 Cij Kij divided by sigma r m. Again, r is the story. Cij square Kij. And the value for m, Cij is the same. Value for m is equal to 3 by 4 for hinged columns. And m is equal to 1 for fixed columns. So that's all for today. See, what we have seen is what is a portal frame with a side sway, what are the conditions, what are the causes for occurrence of side sway, and using kANI'S method for the frames with a side sway at the joints, we will have joint rotation as well as joint displacement. So, in addition to rotational factor or rotational contributions, there will be displacement contribution also. So, in order to find the distribution contribution, we need to determine the displacement factor. So, for that we saw three conditions. First condition is columns of equal height with vertical loads. Second condition is columns with equal height and horizontal loads. And the third condition is columns with unequal height. So, for all these three cases, we saw what is the distribution contribution and distribution factor. Okay, so remember these formula for distribution factor and distribution contributions so that you can analyze the portal frames with the side sway using kANI'S method. We will solve problems. We have two problems to solve. We will solve the problems in the coming classes. Thank you for today. Thank you.